Every year I get smarter, stronger, and more wealthy, and I honestly can't put it down to anything other than planning. And the thing is, my plan also gets better every single year. And I could never have started a year like this before. This level of organization just didn't happen. And it definitely hasn't been overnight, that's for sure. It's been built through consistent attention, now recently more reflection, and a lot of trial and error. And I already know that that's what I'm doing this year will probably evolve again for 2027. So I've got an even better plan going forward because it just gets more efficient if you're actually reflecting and learning. So if you're watching this and you've set goals at the start of the year, we're week 3, and you feel motivated for a few weeks, but then you slowly drift back to your baseline, that used to be me. I used to struggle with even deciding what I wanted to do outside of fitness and strength goals because the gym and fitness is my life. I'd write the goals, they'd feel empty, or I'd be like, meh, and then I'd forget about them. I'd eventually just go back to revert to whatever I was doing and felt familiar and I enjoyed. And like you'd make small changes, but it wasn't as drastic as I've noticed over the past few years. So we moved into the 4th year of our physio business here at By Design and our 4th year of living in Tasmania in Hobart, which meant for the first time in our lives, we actually could reflect properly because we're starting fresh and seeing things change. So we started planning projects and they extended beyond survival mode after hospitality. So with reflection, more realistic understanding and timeframes, we actually figured out some more priorities that were actually suited to us. And then we realized things were more possible. So this year, we're building on those previous 2 years of goal setting and doing things slightly different again because of the things that we've learned. So I'm a pretty organized person. I genuinely like a plan. So when I went through uni, I made calendars per semester. I colored that shit in and I stuck to it the majority of the time. And that's just how my brain works. I need structure. With all of this stuff out there in the world, there's so much information. So I learned that I also needed a deeper understanding of why something's sustainable, not just productivity and impression on paper. So after years of frustration with the goal setting, I realized a few things. So I was skipping my reflection, so I didn't know what actually did well. And then I wasn't setting goals without context and actually having action plans. And I definitely wasn't sticking or making a plan that I could stick to. So instead of starting the year with goals in 2025 and 2026, I start with reflection. And I'm going to go through that one in a second. So before anything that I plan, I look back now. And this part actually took me ages to do because before I even asked myself these questions, I had to go through my calendar of what I actually did for the year, all the events that I did, any social interactions I had, any sort of fitness goals that I did have, what I did to get there. And it slowly does get easier with time, but you have to capture that data first so you can actually reflect on the realistic things that you did. Then I would ask myself, what went well? What felt successful and what didn't go as well as I'd like, and how did it actually feel? So I found that this was the most important part because it's not about judgment, it was just about information gathering. So then I also spent time identifying what I call fuel for not what I want to do. And this is something I've added only this year based on what I did last year. So what do I clearly not want to do and not repeat that I did this year? Because it just wastes time and you already know that, you just fall into that same habit. And things that might be in there like commitments that drained you or commitments that drain me, ways that I overextended myself and I reflected that I didn't like that, things I simply don't enjoy and don't need to repeat, patterns that looked like they were productive, but then they actually weren't aligned with my goals. There's only so much time in a year and in our lives, we might as well do things that we like. Reflection did give me clarity. So what am I leaving behind? What am I committing to this year? And what do I genuinely want to do and gets my energy? So without this step of reflecting and actually asking questions, goals do just float and they're not really made for you. So one of the biggest lessons from last year was simple, but it was really hard. And that was sticking to one thing and staying with it until it's done. And that is so tough. So you've got to start asking yourself, what are we keeping? What are we removing? And what are we making space for if we want to do something new? It's not flashy, you just got to stick to the basics. So what it taught me, even this year on reflecting, is consistency always beats intensity. patience does actually compound. Weird. And you don't need more goals. You need fewer, clearer ones that you actually, like something means something to you and it's aligned with what you want. So this lesson did shape everything for what you're about to see with my compass or my vision board team. So this is my yearly compass, or previously called vision board, but I realized recently that vision board is just a bunch of photos. So this to me is like a really big plan of where I want to go, which I think compass works pretty well for that. So the year of connection came from realizing that life is pretty limited and I don't want to get to my 70s or 80s if I make it that far and have no one surrounding me. So I want to start building on some connections now before it's potentially too late and before I have a family and life just ticks by, which is pretty crazy. And then summarizing the whole calendar so far is that I've got to have strong foundations that I'm building my skills upon. I've got to have really clear, clean systems, and I've got to have deeper connections overall. So I think that if we're looking for a compass to go off this year, every time I'm feeling a bit lost with should I do something or not, I just will come back to these two intents here. And then working with the business, because my business is my life and they are synergistic of each other. I'm trying to build real strength for people that unlocks belief here at By Design Physio and strength training, because strength actually does elicit belief in people, and then that gives them agency or empowerment to do things for themselves. They make better decisions because of that, and then they then elevate their life. So that is continuing to be my vision for the year. If we look back at last year, so I've got vision board over here. Last year was actually the year of controlled challenges. So it was when we really ramped up the business. We opened the gym extension and things were going to get pretty tricky. We had to pretty much do my normal physio role, but also start to build from the ground up the strength system that was part of now the business. So I can use that as previous. So if we go back in here, I just set up Notion so I can have a nav, but again, you don't need that. What I always start my compass now with is 2026 reflections. And this is not filled because this is going to be the reflection from this year. So we've got to go back to 2025 for reflections there. And I guess you could fix this up to make it less clunky, but right now I'm enjoying this process. So 2025 reflections, I've gone blocked into weaknesses in 2025. And I've just broken them into the common categories that people use, but I've got business, I've got lifestyle and experiences like trips and stuff. I've got health and training, I've got family and relationships, and then I've got wealth and investment. So just open book here. I'm going to go through my weaknesses for my business. I didn't hit 100 gym members. We got to 80, and that was just poor training on my behalf, but also training the team. So that's a reflection of me. So that was a weakness, which is something I could work on in the new year if I really wanted to prioritize it. I lost a good physio member early on, so learned from that, reflected on that. And then the goal was to get a certain measure of profit, and we got less than 10% there. So it wasn't necessarily like a weakness, but it wasn't hitting a goal, which we wanted. Lifestyle and experiences. So spent minimal time exploring Tasmania this year, and then had a lot of rest instead because we were building this business over here. So sacrifices, but good to reflect on. And then very little socialization compared to the year before, but also compared to what I actually wanted to do this year. Health and training. I had an inconsistent training schedule, but I still trained probably 4 days a week consistently. But for me, like 6 and felt the best from training, I rated that as a weakness. My family, didn't have as much sexual times as I'd like. Again, with the connections this year, we're going to work on that one. And then wealth and investment, minimal gains on my ETH. Again, that's out of my control, but it's just a reflection there of what we were working on with our investments. If we go over to successes of 2025, there's so many more successes. So that's kind of fun. We opened and expanded the By Design training method, and we moved the By Design Physio itself to the space to open the training method. So we got 4 times the space. So that was pretty big. I think that literally overshadows all of the weaknesses. So it's always good to show why you may have had your weaknesses. We systemized the training program from phase 1 all the way up to phase 3 over 52 weeks. So pretty pumped that I spent majority of my waking minutes fixing that once I got onto a roll that took ages. We hired 2 full-time physios. We hired 3 trainers for the gym, and I learned patience and working on one thing because, oh my God, that took ages. So that I started to really understand what patience was and that I could do it. It just takes time and patience, lol. for the first time in my life, I feel that I have enough. So that was a really cool reflection for the business, because for a lot of entrepreneurs, all we want to do is continually move forward and make new things and make crazy things to fix problems. And for the first time ever, I was like, I thoroughly enjoy what I'm doing right now, and I don't need to open anything new. I don't need to change what I'm currently doing. I like my day-to-day. It's quite enjoyable. And if this was all I ever did, this would be enough. So that was a cool reflection. Obviously, there's always more to be done, but if nothing did change, I would be pretty pumped. Okay, lifestyle. We did do regular holiday breaks to celebrate the hard work, which was really nice. So I reflected on that a bit, but we went to Palm Beach for a break. We did Brisbane Easter at the Star Casino, which was awesome. We did a huge Christmas trip, and we did a Cradle Mountain in the middle of winter, which we decided to keep this year. So that's fun. Health and training. We noticed results in the hair care, because I actually spent time, even just once a fortnight, just spending time on my hair, and it's really made a difference. I don't stop getting compliments on my hair now. I know it's really big and frizzy, but that's a reflection of how healthy it is right now, which is really fun. I started a skincare health routine, so now that's just part of my day, which I think getting to 31, you kind of have to start doing that stuff. I maintained my health readings at the gym, so pretty much everything, my body fat, my muscle mass, my visceral, all of that maintained. So I'm pretty stoked with that, considering my routine was inconsistent over here. I stuck to a training program for 12 whole weeks in the middle of winter, which really changed how winter felt here in Tasmania for me. But I bought a $30 glute program from Brett Contreras, and I actually stuck to it for 12 weeks. So that was a really cool reflection in itself. Was like, if you enjoy something, you're going to stick to it, but also if you start to get a bit flaky, just remind yourself why you started. And I really wanted to see how big I could get my glutes. In reflection, not massive, but really cool to learn how to feel them in the right spots, and it's a good basis moving forward. I finished 12 months of psychology. I did a session a month for 12 months, and I was stoked, and what she graduated me with was, I have now achieved self-love, which is really fun, because I didn't even realize that was something I was searching for until you do it. Really happy with that, and I think that added to having enough up here in the business as well, which was cool. Family relationships. I did build a deeper relationship with Scott, although sexual relations were, say, less than we both wanted. We got to build a deeper relationship, and that's only chipping forward as that foundation we're talking about before this year. And then wealth and invested. We invested 70K of our house deposit into crypto and NASDAQ, which we're really nervous about, but that's just where we wanted to put the money, because the housing market was not where we think we wanted to invest long term. It was a big decision over probably 3 months. We bought a Bitcoin, which was pretty fun. It's a big deal for us. That's something that we've always wanted to do. So that was cool. And we started paying ourselves over 100K each, which for the first time in our 10 years of business, that has been the highest that we have been paying ourselves while still making a small profit. And then I got to do my biomechanics course, which really helped open my physio capability. And I also did an advanced dry needling course as well. So I had to add those in there because they are investments in self. There's a bunch of other courses, but again, I didn't write them in my calendar, so they actually weren't written down here. So make sure you add things to your calendar. Okay, so that was my reflection, which then led to, well, what am I going to keep and what am I going to change for the following year? So goals 2026. You don't win the year by excelling in one. You have to win by excelling in all 5 with the minimum effective dose. So when we break the 5 down, which are these 5 here, into the scoreboard, it looks like so. So we've got our business, we've got our leadership, change leadership from connection, family relationship, lifestyle and experiences, health and energy, and then wealth. And then this year we added, what are we not doing? So we'll start here based off the previous year. We're not opening another business. We're not buying a non-future house. And that just means we're going to buy a house if something pops up and it's exactly what we want to live in for the future. So if it's not that, stop messing around with it. We're not buying an unnecessary car until it's needed. It's absolutely necessity, because I really want that Range Rover, but it isn't time, and it would be a waste considering we walk to work every day and we barely drive a car now. Having a $1,000 car sitting in the driveway without a carport is just a huge waste. So until it's needed, we have to let it sit there. It's hard. And then choosing quantity over quality work. So again, always being busy, trying to do stuff. Like I've decided to let myself have this time right now, which is an hour or two on a Monday morning. Instead of just getting work done and just filling in the gaps, I've decided that this is what I want to do, and I want to spend time on the YouTube channel. So I'm going to spend quality time, and then spending emotionally on food. So Scott's on a challenge right now, which is really helpful for this one, but just like because you feel like going and having something or to satisfy a want, we're just going to try and eat at home for the majority of the time and stop just going out and spending unnecessarily. And then what we've found in the past is constraint does equal freedom, which is really fun. And it's like that's there as a reminder when you're looking at these. The best times have come when you are constrained, you do unlock freedom. Okay, so then simply I just went and put through goals into each of these based on my reflections here. So I'll just went and run them through really quickly. But with the business, again, the goal is still $1 million profit, and then that's how to do it and broken down. So there's a bunch of ways, stats that support that, but it's also how do we do that? And then there's a few ways to do that. Build connections with people at work and how to do that. Participate in weekly sales training and how to do that. I bought a course and it's already locked into my diary. As long as I stick to it, that's actually going to happen. Finalize the online programming for Physio and how to do that. Pre-build marketing campaigns, that's a tough one, but how do we do that? We just have to put it on the calendar, which it is, so it should make it a bit easier. And then a quote here to remember is every decision this year builds on the foundation. It simplifies the system or it deepens the connection. If it doesn't, it's noise. So when I come back here each week to look at it, I'm reminding myself of this, because the more you say something, the volume is higher, the more you're likely to do it, or it's just part of your brain. Leadership had a few goals, connections, and my lifestyle had a few as well. We went through and put all of the holidays for the year and then what we'd like to do in each of those holidays. On the big quarter ones, we're doing the Easter, I've decided which one, and then for the end of October, and then we wanted to do every 6 months a trip as well. So we're doing a winter trip and then a Christmas trip as well. That's funny that that's there. That really shouldn't be there. Lol. Then there's maintain the current savings and not add more to it. It's just how do we do that? Just keep doing the personal goal, the percentage weekly, and the house saver. In Up, you can preset all of those percentages to just come out so you don't even see it. And then I want to continue to learn about the online investments as well. Intentional, calm, and predictable is just ways to remind myself to do that. And then over here is health and energy. I want to reduce my ultra processed food to once a month rather than, I don't know, probably once a week, twice a week, which is pretty crazy. It's not ultra, but it's still processed. I want to do some tests this year. There's some cool ones I listened to on a podcast recently. I want to do daily non-negotiables, so I've got to check the platform. I really want to get amongst Twitter. It's really hard. I still haven't done it, and it's week 3, so that's probably not going to happen, but it's a reminder to try to get amongst it. Keep doing my hair stuff, try to build up my steps. Again, the steps are going to replace some of my training, which I want to just do 3 to 4 sessions a week. And there's a few options of where I was going to do it. And I want to do another 12-week challenge over winter to see, get myself out of bed because it's dark. So I'm probably going to do Pilates for the first time in my life in winter. So that's a fun one. Weekly, what I want to do, I want to do all this sort of stuff. In the monthly one, this is what I want to do. And then in the quarterly, what do I want to do? And it's all just there. So they're all thoughts. And when I went through it again with my partner, we got rid of a bunch of stuff. We combined a few things, we added a few more, and then we got this whole list. And then at the end, we've got all the ideas of all the trips that I ever want to do in Tassie or overseas, all of the food places I want to visit, where they are, and then any hikes that I want to do here as well, because otherwise, you know, time's chipping away and you've got all these fun things. Oh, I wish I did that. And they're all just here. So when you do get to a free weekend, you can just drop down and you've got all of your ideas. And then at the end of each month, from my Google Calendar, I just come across and I just write in here what actually happened. So we actually went cliff jumping. We didn't cliff jump, but we went and watched the competition in Tribunna on the weekend. So that was a cool event. So I got to write that one down. I had a new physio start, And then I would just like grab my month and just fill that bad boy in. So I don't have to at the end of the year. I can actually do it as I go because sometimes you forget to add it to the calendar as well. So it's nice to just add all of that in. So my sales training started as well, and that's starting today. And then you can break down your tasks if you're sharing that with someone. And then as you start to write your lessons for the year, they're ready to go. Any sort of quotes that you like, that's where they come from really. It's like you're reflecting on lessons. You're like, that was a really good one, and you'll write it down. I like to put all of my journal entries in the year as well. So if I go back to 2025, here are all my journal entries from last year. So at the end of every month, I reflect again because I use my Google Calendar every day and I do my expenses at the end of every month. I fill in this based on the calendar. And I update myself every single month ahead. So because I use Notion to reflect, and that's often, and that's where my compass and my vision board lives, then I use my Google Calendar on my phone, on my laptop every day, then all of the data is ready to go.